For my field trip assignment, I visited the Kentucky African American Civil War Memorial, which is located in Green Hill Cemetery in Frankfort. Alright, so here's just a brief history of the memorial. The memorial was erected in honor of the 23,703 African Americans in Kentucky who joined and served with the United States Colored Troops. And on Thursday, July 3rd of 1924, which was one day before the monument was dedicated, this following article ran in the Kentucky State Journal. And the article reads, "The monument, which has been erected to the memory of the colored soldiers of the Civil War from Frankfort and Franklin County, will be unveiled at Green Hill Cemetery tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. Short and appropriate exercises are to be held. This monument has been erected at the cost of several $100s under the direction of the Colored Women's Relief Corps, and each soldier's name has been cut on the stone. Contributions are being made to the fund by patriotic and public-spirited citizens of both races." Okay, so here's just a little bit more general information on the Women's Relief Corps. So the Women's Relief Corps number 8 of the Grand Army of the Republic was the specific group that directed the construction of the monument. So here's another, a more zoomed in image there where you can see the name of the Relief Corps engraved into the side of the monument. And so according to their website, the WRC strives to perpetuate the memory of those who sacrificed much and sometimes all in the Great War of the Rebellion, or the American Civil War, and to provide creation and preservation of research, documents, and records that pertain to the GAR, or the Grand Army of the Republic, as well as the WRC. And these are just a few pictures that show the 4 different sides of the monument. So you have the front, which includes the name of the Women's Relief Corps and that general dedication to the monument. And then on each of the other 3 sides, you can see listed the 142 names of the black soldiers. Alright, so here's a little bit more of the history behind Kentucky's USCT, and all of the information here on this slide I actually got from this placard pictured here that you can find at the site of the monument. So initially, the African American soldiers were assigned to guard duty around areas like Camp Nelson and Louisville, but they were later involved in skirmishes at places such as Lexington and Harrodsburg after there was an increase in guerrilla Confederate activity around the state. And the units 109th, 114th, 16th, and 117th were actually present at the courthouse when Robert E. Lee surrendered on April 9th of 1865 and then ended the Civil War. And even after the war, some of the units from Kentucky's USCT were actually still working and were deployed to Texas, and there they joined American efforts that were taking place to try to discourage French operations in Mexico. So this slide just has some more general information on the recruitment of the black troops here in Kentucky, and I found all of this in the article that's listed there at the bottom of the slide. So there was actually a really strong opposition to recruiting black soldiers, and this was coming from different politicians, different journals and newspapers, and actually the opinions of several different individual Kentuckians. And for one example from the reading was Representative Nathaniel Wolfe actually called Lincoln a tyrant and a usurper and claimed that he would never want to let his son fight among black soldiers. And there was also a significant outcry that came from Kentuckians when the recruiting post was first established at Paducah, and that happened in January of 1864. But by March of 64, the recruiting operations were starting to become in effect around the whole state, despite the outrage that was seen from a bunch of different sources. And throughout all of this, Lincoln was really concerned about these sensitivities from Kentuckians, and there was a specific meeting where he discussed these concerns with the governor at the time. It was Thomas E. Bramlett, and they came to an agreement where Bramlett agreed to allow black soldiers to continue enrolling after Lincoln promised not to recruit them in the counties that had already filled their white quotas for soldiers. Another memorial site that's significant here in Kentucky that I learned about during my research was Camp Nelson, and I found this Washington Post article describing how in October of 2018, Trump designated a monument there to honor the African American soldiers that served during the Civil War. And Andy Barr actually wrote the legislation to recognize this monument, and at the time shared different photos of himself with the Interior Secretary at a certain celebratory event. And Trump did receive praise from multiple sources for the decision, but there were others that actually critiqued the specific timing of this decision. It was announced a few days before a tight election between Barr and Amy McGrath, and so that led some to question Trump's real motive behind deciding that to be the specific time to declare the monument. So I found a little bit more of the history of Camp Nelson from this article that's titled there below at the bottom of the slide, and it's located in Nicholasville and was first established in June 1863. And in that little map there of Kentucky, I actually just zoomed in on the picture of the placard that was there at the site that I visited, but on there you can see where Camp Nelson is right here. And Camp Nelson is one of the largest African American Army enlistment camps and emancipation centers in the nation, as according to the article. And as the article explained, this history had been kind of forgotten and suppressed throughout time due to the perseverance of the Lost Cause narrative and the way that public memory was trying to change to remember Kentucky as either neutral or a Confederate state. And since all of this attempt to kind of whitewash or change history, there have been significant efforts to bring attention back to Camp Nelson, along with what I mentioned on the previous slide. But there have also been different excavations and other archaeological work that they have done there at the camp that have suggested certain histories of the camp, specifically different ways in which the black soldiers were treated similarly to the white soldiers in terms of material culture, the food that they ate. And this archaeological work also brought up some understandings of the way that they were treated differently. So in conclusion, the Kentucky African American Civil War Monument is really significant and important as it is one of the few Civil War monuments in the state that isn't a Confederate monument. So as I was just mentioning, rather than trying to uphold this false memory and false understanding of Kentucky's role in the Civil War, this monument is trying to help display the real history and also trying to specifically honor the black soldiers that fought in the war, and listing 142 of their names to help to promote the memory of those specific people. And I grew up in Frankfort, and this was my first time ever visiting the monument, and really my first time ever even hearing about it. So I'm really grateful that I was able to have this opportunity to go and visit it and to help it develop a deeper understanding of Kentucky's role in the Civil War, and specifically the role of the black soldiers in the Civil War. And here's a quick little video that I got from the site. You can see the flags up there waving.